These two sets of brothers had no idea how to make pizza. And in 1950s America, when they were just a couple of broke college kids, no one even knew what pizza was. And yet, both pairs of brothers managed to build their own wildly successful businesses, raking in billions in revenue every year. American pizza, as we know it, wasn't brought over from Italy or birthed in New York. It sprung from the intense rivalry between these two sets of entrepreneurial brothers in the Midwest. Their battle for supremacy introduced this niche dish to the masses, and it revolutionized how the nation ate in their homes. This is the insane story about brotherly betrayal, risky bets, and the race to achieve the American dream. It's the late 1950s, and with the end of World War II came an economic boom in America. It was the golden age of capitalism. More people were able to afford homes and cars than ever before. The middle class was growing and suburban communities tore their way through the outskirts of cities. Americans were commuting for the first time, with the interstate system connecting the country like never before. People were spending more time on the road, bringing their appetites with them. And a wave of entrepreneurs were rising up to feed a nation constantly on the move. Among them were a pair of brothers from Wichita, Kansas, who believed they could compete with industry titans. Older brother Dan Carney dropped out of business school and convinced younger brother Frank to join him. Neither was armed with industry experience, but they dove headfirst into the restaurant game. In 1958, after securing a $600 loan from their mother, the brothers rented a rundown 600-square-foot building with the gamble to sell a humble Italian peasant food called pizza, featured in the Saturday Evening Post. But most 1950s Americans had never even heard of it. The first pizzeria opened in America in 1905, but it wasn't widely popularized. With the need to differentiate themselves from the saturated market of chicken and burgers, pizza seemed like a fresh idea. But they neither had a recipe nor had a restaurant name. One fateful day, they chanced upon a man called John Bender who knew how to make pizza. Together, the resourceful men created the recipe based on what they thought pizza should be, not what authentic Italian pizza was. They used French bread for dough since it appealed to the Midwestern palate, then threw on ingredients they had on hand and baked it. One problem down, one more to go. Working within a tight budget, the Carney brothers planned to use a free Coca-Cola sign with room for only 8 letters. Pizza occupied the top display, so they only had 3 letters to get creative. Hit was thrown around a lot, but just didn't stick. Then, inspiration struck, with the brothers landing on Pizza Hut after the restaurant's hut-like shape. And so, with their fingers crossed, the brothers opened the doors to their restaurant. Within months, locals were flocking to Pizza Hut for an affordable, delicious meal for the whole family. Standing in their kitchen just 4 months ago with no recipe, Dan and Frank Carney were oblivious to the transformative impact they would have on the world. They had turned a simple dish into a sit-down dining experience that fed families across generations, bringing American pizza as we know it to the world. Taking a page from pioneers Colonel Harlan Sanders and Ray Kroc's playbook, a year later in 1959, Pizza Hut opened its first franchise store in Topeka, Kansas. 5 more locations were launched shortly after. To accelerate the growth of their empire, they even slashed franchising fees to half of McDonald's. And the brothers were just getting started. 800 miles from Wichita began another story of brothers in Michigan. It's 1960. 23-year-old Tom Monaghan was struggling to pay his way through college. With no family support, Tom and his younger brother Jim were looking to make some money. Working as a mailman, one day Jim was on his route and heard about a sandwich shop, Dominos, for sale. Agreeing to split the work hours evenly, the brothers borrowed $900 to buy the business. After just a 15-minute lesson in making pizza from founder Dominic DeVarty, the brothers were on their own. The Monahan brothers struggled to keep up with the tornado of orders. The complex menu and tiny seating space meant a daily face-off against an overwhelmed staff and customers angry about wait times and canceled orders. Until one day, Tom decided to serve only pizza and to deliver them to customers' houses. Tom didn't know it at the time, but this pivotal decision would define the center point of his business model and revolutionize the way Americans ate. In the late 1950s, home delivery was an afterthought offered by a handful of Chinese restaurants in dense cities. Tom's move toward home delivery was incredibly risky, but their backs were against the wall. The strategy was an instant success, with sales doubling in a month. But Tom's risky bet had started a rift between the brothers. Within a year of buying Domino's, Jim wanted out. He settled for job security as a mailman, trading his half of the business to Tom for the Volkswagen Beetle, the company's first delivery vehicle. Tom had no time to dwell on the sting of his lost business partner. He now had his sights set on nationwide reach. And his first major move as the sole owner of Domino's was to focus delivery on his most profitable target demographic, college students. With student housing all located in one dense, confined area, multiple pizza orders could be delivered all in the same drive. This ingenious move laid the groundwork for his expansion plans to flourish. Back in Kansas, the Carney brothers were locked into the tunnel vision to franchise aggressively. By 1963, Pizza Hut had expanded out of Kansas and had grown to over 40 locations nationwide. It was the largest pizza chain in the country. The fan base for pizza skyrocketed as more Americans got to taste a slice of heaven. Frozen pizza was readily available in grocery stores. Now, less than a decade since opening the first Pizza Hut, Dan and Frank were reaping the rewards of their early bold choices. Similar to Ray Kroc with McDonald's, Frank Carney also endeavored to provide consistent food quality across all locations. To achieve this, he introduced a new system of ingredient distribution, such that a central location would freeze-dry each ingredient, then distribute them to every franchisee, guaranteeing uniformity. The franchisees would then reheat the ingredients in their own stores, eliminating much of the prep work. With this secret weapon, Pizza Hut in the West tasted just the same in the East. Meanwhile, in Michigan, it's 1965, and Tom had already purchased 2 additional pizzerias. With the expansion of his mini empire, he wanted the same store branding, but was not allowed to use the name Domino's. Then one day, employee Jim Kennedy returned from a delivery and simply suggested Dominos. Along with the new name came a new company logo, a domino piece with 3 dots, representing his 3 stores in 1965. Just like that, the domino effect was set off in America. It wasn't long before Domino's was in nearly every single college town, and it caught the eyes of competitors like Little Caesars, Shakey's, and Pizza Hut. But at that point, all Tom could think about were his problematic pizza boxes. With the exponential growth of delivery orders, drivers were stacking more pizzas for larger delivery runs, and customers would receive cold, squished-up pies with cheese stuck to the lids. After some serious brainstorming, he came up with a corrugated box that transformed home delivery forever. Unlike its chipboard predecessors, the innovative box was insulated and stackable so pizzas were protected and multiple orders could be delivered easily. We're now pushing into the 70s, and the iconic Red Roof restaurants have swept the nation off its feet. Pizza Hut sales have surged to record highs, but the Carney brothers have now hit a major speed bump. Over 100 stores were in danger of closing due to lagging sales in the East. The Midwest taste for thin crust just didn't appeal to the Northeast population rooted in Italian culture. Later in 1973, after many long nights in the kitchen, they finally unveiled their thick crust pizza. Crispy on the outside, yet soft and chewy on the inside, hugging the cheese and toppings in all the right places. Now known as the original pan pizza, this recipe went on to outsell the original thin crust and solidified its iconic status in the country. Concurrently, in 1973, Tom Monaghan was confronted with the consequences of his early brash actions. His sweetheart franchising deals had now come back to haunt him. On top of his lower-than-industry franchise fees, he had supplied each store with a fleet of delivery vehicles, eating up all profits and forcing him into debt. And in a cutthroat industry, the circling sharks could smell blood. Domino's rival, the most powerful pizza chain in both America and the world, saw an opening and pounced. The Carney brothers allegedly made an offer to buy Dominos and extricate Monaghan from the money pit. However, he turned them down and went back to the drawing board to re-strategize. Then, in 1975, a light bulb moment, he established a franchise-wide promise for delivery within 30 minutes, or the pizza was free, an unprecedented assurance to customers. It was a win-win for diners everywhere and placed efficiency at the core of business operations. With this one pledge, Monahan had altered the trajectory of his business and propelled Domino's to a whole new echelon of success. With that, Pizza Hut continued to bank on its pan pizza recipe, and Domino's thrived on its 30-minute guarantee, each channeling their own strengths as they continued to battle it out in the eternal pizza wars. Today, there are more than 20,000 Domino's stores across the globe, with Pizza Hut trailing closely behind with over 19,000. The heated debate of Pizza Hut or Domino's still finds its way to the dining table, and the fierce rivalry for the coveted title as the king of pizza still continues today. But for both Monaghan and the Carneys, who started their restaurants with the simple intent to cash in on the fast food gold rush, little did they know the drastic impact they would have on the fast food industry and on the way the nation ate. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.